If I've learned anything from being the internet's resident romantic, it's that when dealing with hurt or heartbreak of any kind, the majority reaction seems to be to close ourselves off and totally shut down from receiving any kind of love in the future so as to protect ourselves from getting hurt once again. To say, I learned my lesson, I will never let anyone hurt me like this again, no one will ever get close enough to embarrass me like this again, fuck you, fuck this, fuck that, I'm over it. This reaction of like, I've been hurt and now I'm done with it and no one's ever gonna hurt me ever again is kind of some repackaged cool girl bullshit, and I just disagree with it. It really took me a while to see my sensitivity as a strength of mine, but now looking back on it, I really don't know how I ever saw it any other way. It is just such an immense strength to, even in the face of hurt and heartbreak, to continue to muster up the strength to keep loving, to be someone that even in the face of some of the most difficult emotions to sit with, you choose to stay true to the part of you that wants to love no matter what. I think that's a beautiful thing. It's the month for lovers, and clearly I'm in the mood to talk anything and everything love. But more specifically, the kind of love and grace and care that we show to ourselves and the people around us in moments of heartbreak and the moments that follow immediately after. It is the night before Valentine's Day right now, and today I just want to scream, sing love songs, make little valentines for imaginary people inside my head, talk a little bit about heartbreak, and focusing on taking care of the part of you that loves, nourishing that part of you even in super difficult times. But first, let me talk about audio erotica for a second, because today's video is sponsored by Dipsea. Dipsea is an audio app full of short, sexy stories designed to turn you on. If you have never listened to audio erotica before, I need you to download Dipsea, get a pair of headphones on, pull out your favorite vibrator, and just let yourself indulge for a minute, okay, bestie? Because you're not gonna regret it. Dipsea has stories for every scenario you could possibly imagine. Whether you really love the idea of hooking up with that super hot yoga teacher that you run into every week, a coworker that you've had your eye on, perhaps a masseuse, you might be like me if that's the case. They have all of that and more over on Dipsea, with a library that is constantly being updated with brand new stories, so you will never run out of something new to indulge in. There is just something ridiculously hot about listening to someone right in your ear telling you exactly what they'd like to do to you or exactly what you're gonna do to them. Listen, a bitch loves being told what to do. I won't even lie. I love it. If this sounds like something you'd be interested in trying, you can head to dipseastories.com/partylikeMaddie for a free extended 30-day trial to test out Dipsea and listen to those stories. So again, that's dipseastories.com/partylikeMaddie, DIPSEA stories.com/partylikeMaddie. And thank you again to Dipsea for sponsoring today's video. Dating, intimacy, vulnerability, heartbreak. We all process these things in different ways. Yes, it is true. Yeah. We open up, we close off, we open up, we close off again. And our attachment style can really speak to why this is and what it is that we're doing. I'm someone that's absolutely struggled with having an anxious attachment style, both in the past and at times in the present as well. I do feel like at this point in my life, I am mostly securely attached. However, with the wrong partner, I can absolutely be triggered into old, anxiously attached ways. Triggered. Do you think that was me slipping into my British accent? If you don't listen to my podcast, maybe that's a good thing. But I talk about Love Island on there, and I speak in a British accent, and I don't know, maybe it's affecting the way I'm speaking. If you're not familiar with attachment styles, I really recommend reading Attached. I read Attached for the first time 2 summers ago, summer 2021. But to be anxiously attached basically means that you become so consumed with worry that your desire for intimacy will not be reciprocated, to the point where it becomes very personal to you if it is not. And in response to that fear, people who are anxiously attached will do absolutely anything they can to bring the person that they want to be intimate with closer, which can sometimes be to the detriment of the relationship. You can be super affected by people's responsiveness, availability, and feel really distressed, like personally distressed at the prospect of someone not meeting your personal needs, to the point that it feels like a personal attack on you that they are not meeting those needs. It's like, for example, if someone is not putting in enough effort to the dating process for you to feel comfortable with, in a situation like that, I think the secure response would be to say, that's disappointing, that sucks, I'm allowed to have an emotional reaction to what is going on. However, this isn't personal. This isn't what I'm looking for in a relationship. I do not want to be with a partner who does not know how to communicate or doesn't have the decency to tell me that they're no longer interested. So I'm going to draw this boundary and say, I'm done here. Versus someone that is anxiously attached might look at the situation and go, oh my God, they're not texting me back. That must mean that they don't like me and they're dating other people because I'm not pretty enough and I'm not funny enough and I'm not smart enough. And if only I waited an hour longer to respond to their other text, maybe they would have responded to this one because I probably came off too needy. And maybe if I said this word instead of this word, that things would have been different. And maybe if I wore this outfit instead of that outfit, then maybe they would have liked me. And you start blaming yourself and going full spiral mode, taking their lack of communication as a reflect on yourself, taking it personally rather than just saying, you know what, this is clearly not my person and this isn't the kind of behavior that I'm looking for in my partner. Obviously, it's very normal. Hello? You have something to say. Go ahead. Obviously, it's very normal to have an emotional reaction to something not working out or communication dipping with someone that you were interested in or things we're developing with. But I think the anxiously attached person becomes like totally fixated. But I think the anxiously attached person becomes totally fixated on all of these emotions and worries that they forget to check in with how they actually feel because they're too consumed by worrying about how the other person feels about them. And like I said, this is absolutely something that I have struggled with personally in the past and at times at the present as well. This absolute fucking ham. I can't get enough of her right now. There was one specific example of when I think I did a great job of sort of pushing through my anxiously attached tendencies. Basically, I was in a situation where I was seeing someone and my needs were aggressively not being met, and I was still in the phase of my life where I was learning how to stand up for myself and learning how to feel comfortable saying, this is what I want, this is what I'm looking for, without being worried that I was going to come off as too much or I was going to scare someone off by being honest about my feelings. The amount of people I would like to fight from my college years specifically that made me feel so guilty for having beautiful, wonderful, extremely normal human emotions. Like the amount that hookup culture made me believe that I needed to be a heartless fuck in order to keep people around. Anyways, I was seeing someone, my needs were aggressively not being met, communication was trash, I wasn't really feeling cared for, there wasn't enough effort being put in, it just wasn't what I wanted. And I spent a few days being like spiral mode, taking it personally, being like, they're not reaching out to me, they still haven't tried to see me again, like I'm sitting here thinking about them literally all day, and clearly they haven't even thought of me once, because if they were thinking of me even a fraction of how much I'm thinking of them, they would have reached out to try to make plans with me. What the F? I'm beautiful and gorgeous. So I had a few days of doing that, just going in circles, same thought patterns, blaming myself, feeling like I wasn't good enough. And then finally I was like, you know what, Maddie? I love you, bestie. We can't do this anymore. We're done. And so I had a long conversation with my besties, and we crafted together a little text message that I was going to send to this person, basically just saying, listen, I want more from you. I'm interested in you. I really want da-da-da-da-da. I need da-da-da-da-da to feel secure with the people that I am intimate with. When I sent that, that was really like the first time that I think I had ever been so totally like bearing all when it comes to my heart and what I need and what it is that I wanted. And after I did it, I was like, whoa, I feel so much better. It feels so much better to instead of blaming yourself and going down this rabbit hole of like, this isn't working for me and therefore I'm the problem and I must be too much and I'm not enough for them and blah, 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 whatever it is. Instead of going down that path, just observing what's going on, noticing how it feels in your body, and opening up a conversation to see if things can change. Maybe they're not even intending to make you feel the way that you're feeling, or maybe this isn't a good match. Through that conversation, I learned that it wasn't a good match. We didn't want the same things. Then it gave me the opportunity to move on and move forward and get out of that cycle where I'm sitting in my fucking apartment every day panicking, waiting for a text message from some random guy that I'm not even going to remember the name of in 3 years. Holy shit. And you know what? If you listen to my podcast this week, you'll know that I dealt with a pretty similar situation recently where I had to set a boundary for myself, and I reacted so much differently. I felt so different. I didn't take it personally this time. And it was like such a huge step for me in realizing how far I've come in feeling comfortable with my own needs and wants, feeling comfortable with what other people are able to give, allowing myself to feel my feelings, and also giving myself permission to talk through when things aren't working for me. It's taken me quite some time to learn how to value my own feelings about someone, how someone makes me feel, how to prioritize that over what they think of me, and worrying like how to be more desirable or lovable to the people that I'm courting. Instead of choosing to suppress the fact that I was uncomfortable in those situations, I chose to speak to it, to address it. And that is like a major way that you can show love to yourself, by honoring your emotions, honoring how it is that you feel. Instead of allowing your discomfort and anxiety to grow and fester into something that takes over your entire day, like taking control of that, speaking up, saying how you feel, and opening up the opportunity for more conversation or for learning that this isn't it, so we can move ourselves along in the self-care heartbreak process. And also, I think you're showing a lot of love to the person that you're going out with by giving them the opportunity to engage in conversation about this, by opening up about what it is that you want, what you're feeling, what you're looking for. With the right person, that's going to be incredible. You can't say the wrong thing to the right person. With the right person, opening up to them about how you're feeling, what you need more of in a relationship, is only going to bring you guys closer and strengthen the dynamic that you have going. So it's a net positive. It's a win-win. And honestly, I think in the case of the story that I just told, there was absolutely a universe where I could have let that sit for days, weeks even, and just let those worries build and build up, assuming that he never would have actually ended it with me and just would have kept doing whatever the fuck we were doing. And I basically would just be like mourning the end of a relationship, situationship, whatever the fuck it was, before it actually ended. The breakup before the breakup, which just sucks. My fridge is like Jenga right now. Oh, I need a glass of wine. The breakup before the breakup, the anticipatory pain that takes what is supposed to be a fun part of dating and makes it absolutely miserable. And it's so miserable because we're so worried about what happens next that we actually can't even enjoy what's happening right now, if anything is happening right now, because we're so worried about what is about to happen, because we can feel it in our bones. So the question is, how do we learn to show love to ourselves during that process? How can we learn to be gentle and caring and take care of our hearts, so that way maybe we don't end up fearing when and if it happens again? And this is definitely something that I'm still learning about myself. I'm still learning how to comfort myself through the disappointment that comes with dating sometimes. Whether it's all consuming or not, I think it's normal to have an emotional reaction when things don't go the way that you want them to with someone that you either have been intimate with or were hoping to build something intimate with. Something that has really been a comfort to me has been picturing my younger selves as a way to show grace to myself. Bear with me, I promise it's gonna make more sense. But sometimes when I feel like a wave of emotion, or I feel like a wave of frustration, heartbreak in dating in general, it's easy to sometimes react to myself in like a, God, how are you so surprised that this is happening way? You know that this is how people are. You know that people don't love the way that you do. You know, you've been through this before. It's sometimes hard for me not to get like, I don't know, like a little jaded and a little like, you should have known better. People are assholes. Why are you still surprised that they're assholes? But it's much easier to be comforting of those waves of emotions when I picture them coming from my younger selves that are just scared. My 17-year-old self is worried that things won't work out because she feels super unlovable. She had been flirting with someone via text and went up to them at a football game and they pretended not to know who she was. She's terrified. That was me. There's someone inside of me. There's a version of me that wanted to love so badly and was shut down in that way before. She's in here somewhere and she is scared. My 19-year-old self is scared this won't work out because the first person that I was ever intimate with lied to me and had a whole separate relationship the entire time we were together. My 22-year-old self is afraid this won't work out because the guy that I'm seeing that I started to really like tried to fuck my roommate. Okay? There are all these different versions of me rattling around inside my head. And sometimes when things get really emotional and I'm feeling a lot and I'm afraid that something won't work out or I'm afraid of being hurt again, it's not necessarily coming from my present self, or it's not necessarily a fear about this specific thing not working out. It's a bunch of fear that's built up from a lot of things that happened when I was younger. And it's a fear that I won't be able to carry one more thing, that if this doesn't work out, that everything's going to fall apart. There's just, it feels like there are like a bunch of tiny Maddies that get scared inside of me. And something that's been really helpful and healing to me is to remind those versions of me that 25, damn near 26-year-old Maddie knows what to do, that I will protect those versions of me, that they don't have to feel scared anymore. Present day Maddie is going to honor and take care of those feelings and fears that younger me didn't know what to do with, that sometimes come back up in situations like these. And that's been a lot easier for me to understand and for me to give grace to when I really break it down and understand, like, listen, these fears don't come from nowhere. There have been shitty situations that I've been in the past, and yes, I am many years out from those things being in my present day reality. And thank God for that. Thank God that is not stuff that I'm currently dealing with. But the things that those versions of me went through stick with you. And they pop back up as trust issues and worries and anxious attachment styles. And sometimes it just helps to recognize that those are the tiny versions of you. It's helped me a lot to just have empathy for my teenage selves and how scared I was and how I feel like those versions of me are still inside me, and they get scared sometimes. And sometimes I just need to reassure those versions of me that we're going to be okay and that present day me is emotionally capable of taking care of us. So how do we learn not to fear being hurt in the future? Because inevitably we will be hurt again. And I guess the only thing that makes sense to me is just that we learn to trust ourselves. We learn to trust in our ability to take care of ourselves, to speak up for ourselves. Maybe we will be hurt again, but this time we will love ourselves through that process instead of blaming ourselves for all the ways that other people have treated us, and we will be okay in the end. When it feels too hard to just keep loving or holding on to hope that someday things can be different for us, that we're deserving of better treatment, when it's hard to hold on to that hope, I find that something that helps a lot is forgiveness. I'm absolutely not saying that you should offer every single person that has ever hurt you forgiveness. There are for sure exceptions to what I'm about to say, but I think overall, most people are deserving of softness, are deserving of forgiveness, are deserving of the ability to do better, our belief in them to do better. Maybe not for us, but in the future. Sometimes good people do bad things. Even the best communicators had to learn how to communicate like that. I think that, honestly, a lot of people are very scared about talking about their feelings and being vulnerable. So it's actually not a surprise to me at all that a lot of people are shit communicators or end up ghosting and going dead silent instead of saying how they really feel, because it's just not encouraged. It feels like across the board, everyone is sort of shamed for saying how they feel. My point here is just that we are imperfect people that are all struggling with things and dealing with things. And in an ideal world, we would all be able to make exactly the right choices every single time. But the reality is that's just not the case. And I think that it is helpful to be able to give grace and forgiveness to the people that have maybe not been the best to us, instead of seeing them as like these evil, awful people that intended to hurt us. Honestly, it's just like a heavy weight to bear. There have been many moments, and I brought this up in therapy before, of like just feeling doom and gloom about the dating process. And it's hard not to look back at some of my dating experiences, some deservedly. I'm not saying I forgive everybody, but it's easy sometimes for me to be like, oh my God, everything is bad. Everything has always been bad, when that's not really the case, right? And I think that, like, yeah, there have been some bad experiences for sure, but not all of my dating experiences have been bad just because they haven't worked out or because things didn't go exactly perfectly the way that we would have wanted them to in an ideal world. And so I think it's important to take a step back and give people grace. Forgive the people that you feel comfortable forgiving. You learn to be a little bit more gentle with other people, and in turn, you'll end up being more gentle with yourself whenever the tables are turned, because trust me, the tables will turn. You are not an infallible person. You are going to mess up sometimes. Good people do bad things. And honestly, I just think that viewing the world in black and white terms, viewing people as either good or bad, we might think that is protecting ourselves, but I think in the long run, it might actually just be sort of blocking our blessings, so to say. Speaking of blocking your blessings, let's talk about closing yourself off from being hurt, choosing not to be as vulnerable, as open with another person out of fear of feeling the way that you have. I don't really think that you're protecting yourself from being hurt again. I think that all you're doing is shutting yourself off from the possibility of experiencing an all-encompassing, right for you kind of love. Because the truth is that people are going to do whatever the fuck they're going to do, right? You can't do anything to stop the way that other people are going to treat you. That's like not your responsibility. You cannot control every single way that other people are going to choose to act. You can't make choices for other people. Other people are going to do what other people are going to do. All you have to do is trust yourself and your ability to take care of yourself, to heal, and just keep loving. I'm going to keep saying it. But really, I think that choosing to be a lover in a world that so badly wants you to be anything else is such a courageous and beautiful thing. And dude, I fucking get it. It's fucking hard to be a romantic sometimes. I'm in therapy just going to town with my therapist about this shit week to week. I'm telling you, if anyone knows, it's me. But I think in those moments where I'm like, what is going on? This is so difficult. I just try to imagine this future partner, this future person, and maybe they don't feel the way that I feel right now. I don't know where they are or what they're doing. Hey, bestie, what's up? But in my head, I like to envision that they are somewhere out there, feeling the same way that I do, holding on to hope that I am out there somewhere. And for some reason, thinking about that, thinking about this person that's out there feeling the same way that I do, and that someday we're going to be together and it's all going to make sense. Maybe some people call that idyllic or are going to roll their eyes at me because they think I'm too dreamy or too whatever. And I actually don't give a fuck, because I think that being a dreamy, romantic person, believing in a love that sweeps you off your feet, believing in a fairy tale love is the right thing for me to do. So I'm going to do it. To be a lover, to choose to be a lover and a romantic in a world that so desperately wants you to be anything else is an act of bravery, is courageous. I believe this wholeheartedly. It is such a cool thing to be a dorky fucking lover girl. And I won't have anybody tell me different. Because here's the thing. At the end of the day, if you are a lover, no matter how other people may treat you, may reciprocate or not reciprocate your love, your ability to be a lover, to be a romantic, to be a sweetie and a softie, at the end of the day, You are the one that always gets to come home to you. Even if everyone else in the entire universe stomped all over your heart, at the end of the day, the person that benefits the most, the person that gets to live with your heart every single goddamn day, is you. You get to bring that part of you everywhere, to every relationship you will ever have in the future. That is all you. So here's to all the lovers and the romantics, the softies of the world, whether you are single, in a long-term relationship, in a situationship, heartbroken, or somewhere confused in the middle of all of those things. I hope you have a beautiful, wonderful February, that you have a beautiful, wonderful lovers holiday, and that you allow yourself to celebrate your heart and how special it is to be someone who loves the way that you do.